family's been OU since before the turn of the century.
Oh, really? A long
great-grandfather started the law school at Lonette Hall down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was genetically predisposed to OU.
Okay. No choices for you.
The gene pool got real shallow, though, by the time it got to me, unfortunately.
Wow, that's a pretty neat legacy.
I had fun while I was there.
That's important.
And I don't remember much of it at all.
What do you do now?
I'm in health insurance.
Okay.
At least for now.
Yeah.
Who knows what the government's going to do
That's
for me.
hard to say.
No, I was there during the brief period in Oklahoma history where the drinking age was 18. So that was a critical problem. For someone with no maturity, it's kind of tough.
Which defines most 18-year-olds.
Oh my, doesn't it?
Welcome to the OU edition of a Rotary Club of Tulsa. All my fellow OSU members can leave now and get credit for full attendance, except for me. To open our meeting today, our invocation will be by President nominee Rhonda Redd. Our song and pledge by Richard Bewley, on the piano, Tom Wool, thank you for playing that, and visitor introductions by Chad Newen.
Good afternoon. All right, thank you. Okay, please bow your heads with me today. Father, we thank you for this Rotary Club and all of those who serve our community. Blessed are those who can give without remembering and take without forgetting. Bless the hands that prepared our meal for us today. Amen.
To honor our veterans, today we'll sing the Air Force song, and particularly to honor the Air Force veterans in the audience. My grandfather served in the Army Air Corps, World War II. My father-in-law in the Pacific Theater earned a Purple Heart, bombardier on a bomber for the Army Air Corps. And my dad was a cold warrior with the Strategic Air Command. Skip a generation, now my son wants to fly. I don't know where he got it. Air Force song. Sing two verses. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, soon to meet our thunder. Attaboy, give me the gun. Down we dive, spout out the flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Minds of men, passionate crew. Hands of men. Souls of men, breaking the skies to conquer. Give us wings, ever to soar. With scouts before and bombers galore, hey, nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Now we know why nobody sings the second verse. Richard. I know we can all do this together. It's the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, the best Rotary Club in the world. There are going to be people outside seeking more members, so if you're not a member, sign up today. We have a whole bunch of visitors today, which is great. We have Norma Morrison, guest of James Morrison. Please stand. There you are. Hello. Sam Kammerer, guest of John Raines, and Daryl Griffin, guest of John Raines as well. Jay O'Melia, guest of Tom Roper. Valerie Renz, guest of Rotaract. Hey, Valerie. Gerald Johnson, guest of Cal Boat. Mike McAndrew, guest of David Newsom. Paul Davis, guest of Michael Turner. Zach Davis, guest of Matt Davis. Pedro Figueroa, did I mess that up? Probably. Guest of Dick Cantrell. Matt Crew, guest of Jeff Hassel. Byron Watson, guest of Burl Watson. And Susan Shupak, guest of Sid Shupak. Welcome, everybody. We have a few visiting Rotarians. Tom Clark, past district governor. Hey, Tom. Mike McClendon and Sondra McClendon of Will Rogers. I was hoping I'd get to say this someday. Wayne Schwanee of Bixby. And Clay Langley of Sand Springs. Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Our Rotary sponsor this week is John Stava with Stava Building Corporation. We encourage you to do business with our fellow Rotarians. Please join me in thanking today's sponsor and all of our volunteers. We have 2 committee meetings today. We have classifications in room 233 and the sold out IBA Awards Committee meeting in room 232. We have a few announcements. Melissa Clark, tell us about Mayfest.
Well, time is beginning to run out. If you want to go to Mayfest for May 17th, we'll have a reception and at the art gallery in the lobby of the Williams Tower. That's the triangle-shaped building, and that's May 17th from 6 to 8. We'll have live music and hors d'oeuvres, and the great part is that you have free parking. You can get easily to Mayfest and easily out without all the hassles of having to walk a long distance. And we'll also have live music. John Delavanova and his group is going to be there. So join us. Look on your table for these flyers. I'll be out in the lobby afterwards. $20 per person. Write us a check. Give me a call. Send me an email. Let me know. We'll see you there.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, Rotaract member Stevie Wallace.
Hi, everyone. Who likes wine and chocolate? Yay! Well, Rotaract is having our very first fundraiser 2 weeks from today, so mark your calendars. It's at Gerard Wines, chocolate, wines, and cheeses. So come support us. Our proceeds will jointly sponsor Rebuilding Together Tulsa, which is our hometown nonprofit project. And also, we'll be sending some members to the RILA conference in D.C. in the summer. So thank you for your support. We'll be selling tickets out in the front afterward, and we'll see you then. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Next, our Sergeant-at-Arms, David Downing. Sarge, report to duty. You were AWOL last week.
President Tom, I was AWOL last week. I had hazardous duty in Wichita, Kansas, and Salina, Kansas. I'm happy to tell you, however, that no one was injured.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here.
Had a big week this week. Jerry, if you'll start us off. I sent 18 emails, I believe, to Rotarians who are celebrating either birthdays, anniversaries, or Rotary anniversaries. Have a lot of fines to collect today, so let's get right to it. Kay Bridger Riley gave us $22 for her Rotary anniversary this week. Thank you, Kay. Dana Burks gave us $50 for her recent birthday, but she would not claim a number of years. She just gave $50. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. Ray Batchelor. We all know Ray as being a guy who has tremendous influence in the business community. But he celebrated 80 years of life the other night with a party, and he got Johnny Cash to come to his birthday party. Now, that guy has stroke. Ray Batchelor, $80. Thank you so much for your gift, Ray. Sid Shupak gave us $100 for his 2-year anniversary to Susan. Now, I didn't think I read my email wrong. Did I read my email wrong? I did not. That's a 50 times premium, so I guess the honeymoon is still on, Sid. Well done. Brad Anthem gave $100, but really it was only $75 because he tried to extort $25 from me because of the grief that I apparently give the tech committee. Jerry, did I give you grief this week? I did. Okay. Well, then in that case, I'll pay that $25 extra for Brad's 100 for all kinds of stuff. Ed Hicks gave us $100 for his birthday and number of years in Rotary, and that equaled to exactly 100. Thank you, Ed. You know, I went to Kansas, last week, and I did, and it was a pretty good week. And Tom Byers, where are you? Tom wanted to give some money this week as well. Did I miss Tom? No. Yeah, where's Tom? There he is. And he's trying to coerce me too. He's trying to extort money out of the Sergeant of Arms again. He wanted to give $56 for his 56 years plus a $44 coercion. But I got to tell you, on my trip to Kansas, I passed a car. And in this car there were 3 University of Kansas football players. And this has to do with your coercion, by the way. And in that car was a linebacker, a wide receiver, and a defensive end from the University of Kansas football team. Can you guess which was driving the car? It was a police officer, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. That'll be $100. Thought Coach might appreciate that. Joe Moran gave us $100 for his birthday. Tina Miller gave us $100 for her daughter. That's her on the left holding the Big 12 champions sign, the OU women's rowing team, Big 12 champs 2013, Olivia Miller Letterman. And as I understand it, they beat the University of Texas, who was 4-time rowing champions prior. Not bad, Sooners, and I should get you all to pay me something for saying that. All right, so Steve Mason gave us $120 for his 3 years in Rotary, 51 years of living, 30 years that he's known his wife Lorna, 6 for each of his 6 kids, 20 for the 2 grandkids, and 10 for being a cowboy. Thank you very much. Hey, that's $872 this week, President Tom.
Thank you, Sarge. Great job. Our Rotarian of the Day is past President Ed Monette. Ed is the owner of Monette & Associates, an insurance agency. He's been a member of our club since May 1985. He's a Club Foundation Fellow, a benefactor, a Paul Harris Fellow, and recently became a Pillar of the Community Fellow for his contributions to our club foundation. He was president of our club in 2002, 2003, and he was awarded the 4 Avenues of Service citation from Rotary International. He is most known for being the father of world-famous gymnast Tori Monette. Please welcome Rotarian of the Day, past President Ed Monette.
And I might add, I was just notified that I may already be a winner with Publishers Clearinghouse. We are very fortunate today to have OU women's basketball coach Sherri Coale. OU women's basketball started during the 1974-75 academic year. The team did so well over the next several years that the university announced in March of 1990 that they were discontinuing the program, in part because average attendance was 65. However, after all 65 fans complained, OU reinstated the program 8 years later. In 1996, however, OU hired Norman High School's women's basketball coach, Sherri Coale. Since then, OU's women's basketball team has won 6 regular season Big 12 titles, 4 Big 12 tournament titles, and has been to the NCAA tournament 13 consecutive years. Coach Coale's Sooners were the first Big 12 team to appear in the Final Four and the first Big 12 team to appear in the national championship. In 2008, 2009, and 2009-2010, Coach Coale led the Sooners to back-to-back Final Four appearances, and only 11 teams in NCAA history has done it. Sherri Coale has been Big 12 Coach of the Year 4 times, President of the Women's Basketball Coaches Association from 2007 to 2009, and recently was named head coach of USA Basketball Women's World University Games team. That's why she can't come to IVA this year. She's going to be in Colorado Springs. And remember the attendance figure of 65 fans per game? Well, in 2011-2012, the team averaged almost 7,000 fans per game. And on February 2nd, 2009, 13,000 fans watched OU play Tennessee at the Ford Center in Oklahoma City, the most watched game in women's basketball history. Let's give a warm Rotary welcome to OU women's basketball coach Sherri Coale.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be in Tulsa, and I want to say thank you to all of our fans out there, many of you here today who made the trek down to Norman many times to support us over the past year. And a special thank you to those who can't make that trek, who watch on Soonersports.com or who follow us. We appreciate your support and we feel it. We want you to know how important you are to us. Also want to thank you for your support, Tulsa, of collegiate athletics in general, and then specifically for your support of women's basketball. Hosting the WNBA Tulsa Shock is a really big deal. And so for David Box and Bill Cameron and Coach Gary Kloppenberg, who lead that team currently, thank you for embracing our professional sport here. You have our own Courtney Paris in training camp here at Tulsa right now, and you just drafted Skylar Diggins, and that'll be a draw for everybody. I'll tell you, she's a lot better to have on your team than to have to play against. And I just appreciate the support of our sport. Thank you so much for all that you do. When Brenda sent me a letter and asked me about coming to speak to Rotary, she said, yeah, we had you in 2003, and we've been trying to get you since 2003, and I was very flattered by that, but I really don't think it's been a decade of asking that it's taken our calendar time to mesh to get me back. But it did remind me of a story I heard one time about a husband and wife who were going out to celebrate their 40th wedding anniversary. And they were very, very excited. They've been happily married for 40 years, and so the husband made reservations at this nice little Italian restaurant, white tablecloths, fresh flowers on the table. The wife was so excited. They sat in the corner, began to look at the menus, and she said, I just can't imagine anything more perfect than this. And he said, me either. And they were still just incredibly in love after 40 years of marriage. And all of a sudden, this little fairy godmother landed on the table. And she said, this union that you have had for 40 years is unbelievable. It just hardly ever happens anymore. And as a reward for that, I am here to grant each of you one wish. It can be anything you want. Each of you one wish. And the wife said, oh, I already know what I want. I already know what I want. All my life I've wanted to travel the world with my beloved husband. That's all I've wanted to do is to see the world. Fairy godmother said, speak no more. Waved her wand. Poof, 2 tickets to the Queen Mary 2, right there on the table. Wife can't believe it. She's so excited. Dream come true. Fairy godmother looks to the husband and says, what is your wish today? And he sort of has this bad look on his face, sort of this apologetic kind of looks at his wife, and he looks at the fairy godmother, and he said, I just want to say, honey, I love you. I do, and it's been an incredible 40 years, but this appears to me that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I got to say, the one thing that I would like is to have a wife who is 20 years younger than I am. And the wife went, and the fairy godmother said, a wish is a wish. And she waved her magic wand, and poof, he became 85 years old. Not many women in the room, but they were digging that one, weren't you? See, I think maybe the moral of that story is fairy godmothers are women, duh. But probably the greater moral of that story is be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. And so to Brenda, who's out of the country today, be careful what you ask for, because I'm here. And you got me till at least 1 o'clock. It's a little eclipsed by the light, but I got 30 minutes to roll here. Again, thank you for the honor and the privilege to be here. I want to take just a couple of minutes here and beg your indulgence while I do 2-minute infomercials, and I'll talk really fast. We have 2 support groups at the University of Oklahoma for the sport of women's basketball. I'll tell you real quickly how they were born. The first is called our Fast Break Club, and that's for anybody and everybody who wants to give a little bit of money and support our team. It allows us to do incredible things like go to Australia on a foreign tour, which we did this past year. The NCAA allows you an opportunity to do that once every 4 years. Our men's team is going to Belgium this year. We went to Australia last year, and many other things in terms of our facility and our travel and extenuating just things that we have an opportunity to do. Fast Break Club was born in a little bitty restaurant with about 15 people who I begged to come and said, we need support for our program, and that entity has grown to well over 350. Then we have a group that has, I put little cards on your table. We have a group that's called the Sooner Stilettos, and for the women who are in the room, this is really for you. For the men who are in the room, please pay attention and tell your wives about this when you get home. You know, you come home from work, and what did you do today, honey? I signed you up for this club. It's going to be so much fun. I paid for it. Okay? That's how that'll work. The Sooner Stilettos is a booster organization that works alongside of our Fast Break Club, and it's named the Sooner Stilettos because I don't want to see any of you men wearing stilettos ever, please. It is a group of professional women, and we went after this part of the demographic because it occurred to me while we were having 4,000-5,000 people in our stands every time we played. I would look around and I wouldn't see a lot of people that our female athletes were going to grow up to be. I saw some grandparents and I saw some dads bringing their daughters, and I saw a lot of people in the audience, but I was missing that professional woman that our student athletes were going to graduate from college and become, and I thought that was a very significant connection. And so we created an organization called the Sooner Stilettos that allows our athletes to have contact and mentoring opportunities with those stilettos, with those professional women. Those professional women come and support our student athletes, and very much a win-win, synergetic relationship between the two. So, what you have on your tables are opportunities to sign up to be a part of the Sooner Stilettos. There are many activities that we do throughout the year, and we have a website and all kinds of ways for you to be involved. But there's one very special thing, and I'm on like the last 10 seconds of this 2-minute infomercial. There's one really special thing that's coming up that I want you to mark your calendars for, and men, you really need to pay attention here. In September, we are going to have a fundraiser to raise money for the fight against women's cancers, and it's going to be called the Basket Ball. It will be a ball, a gala, in the downtown Oklahoma City at the Peak, at the Chesapeake Arena, and we're going to raise $1 million to fight women's cancers, and we want you to be a part of it, Tulsa. We want you to be a part of it in a big way. Cancer is personal. There's not a single one of us in this room that does not have a family member who has been face-to-face with this dreadful disease. My mother fought non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 3 years ago. My best friend and assistant coach fought breast cancer this past season. Both are doing incredibly well at this time, but not all stories end that way. And we want to find a way to prevent this disease and to make a significant mark against it. So mark your calendars for September to be involved with the Sooner Stilettos and our Oklahoma women's basketball team in the fight against cancer. Okay, infomercial number 1. Yeah, that's a big deal. I want to tell you a little bit about my incoming players because I can't pass up an opportunity to talk about them. We are so excited about next season. We returned the nucleus of our guys. We graduated 4 seniors this year, 2 of which were in uniform helping us play, and 2 of which were sidelined due to career-ending injuries. Of those 2, 1 started, so we returned 4 starters off of our team that went to the NCAA tournament and to the Sweet 16 and finished tied for second in the Big 12 Conference this past year. So that nucleus of starters returns, and to them we get to add Maddie Manning, who was a freshman this year who tore her ACL early in the season, one of the 4 casualties, a 6'2" guard who is fantastic. If you are old enough to remember Stacey Dales back in the 2001, 2002, leading us to the national championship game, Maddie Manning has a lot of Stacey Dales in her. She's one of those kids, she's all arms and legs, and she comes down the floor and looks this way and passes that way on a dime. She can get to the rim, she competes, she loves the game, she works like crazy. She will be an All-American before she's done. She gets her whole freshman year back, so we get her for 4 years, which is eerily similar to Stacey Dales, who tore her ACL in her first season here and then got 4 additional years. So you're going to be excited about watching Maddie Manning compete. The other student athlete that was injured this past year who will be healthy next year is Kaylin Williams. She's a product of Midwest City High School, post player that's about 6'3", a rebounder, an aggressive, passionate, explosive athlete who loves playing at the low block. And for any of you who've watched much women's basketball, there's sort of this trend going now where everybody who's 6'3" or 6'4" wants to be a point forward. You know what that is? That's what Kevin Durant's doing right now while Westbrook is hurt. KD's out there, one of the biggest guys on the floor, bringing the ball down the floor. Everybody thinks they're Magic Johnson, or if that resonates with some of you, that was my guy, Magic Johnson. And now it's KD, and big kids want to do that. Kaylin Williams is not of that breed. Kaylin Williams is a 6'3" kid who loves that little square that's outside the lane, and she wants to go stand on it and plant herself there and let us throw her the ball, and I love that. As a coach, you love that because it's hard to find kids who want to play that physical, tough position down there. Everyone wants to float around on the perimeter. Kaylin is a back-to-the-basket kind of player. We call her KK. and she'll get 3 years because she was injured right before season began, so she gets her entire sophomore year. So to those guys, if it wasn't enough, adding to our nucleus of starters, we get those 2 guys back. In addition to that, we signed several guys in the spring period, and I apologize, I call my guys guys, and I can't stop, so I just have to get used to it. And you know what? I was asked on national television one time, why do you call your female players guys? Well, I don't know. It's man-to-man defense. I was taught how to play by guys, and they always said we'd send this guy over here and that guy over there, and then we cut this guy through, and so that's what I say. It's hard to change all that. So anyway, my new guys that I signed, a couple of Oklahoma kids, Joya Carter out of Carl Albert High School, left-handed shooting guard, strong, feisty, fiery, competitive, fouls way too much as a high school player, but is going to be a terrific college player. She can put the ball in the basket, and I think she'll fight for a lot of playing time as a true freshman. She was one of the Super 5 picks in the state of Oklahoma. We also signed a kid from Northeast High School. Her name is Tiana Edwards. We call her TT. She's a little bitty, tiny point guard. And when I say little bitty, tiny, like my size without my high heels on, she is tiny. But she is athletic. She is aggressive. I think she's going to help us with depth, and who knows, she may come on and fight for a position all her own, but finding a true point guard is almost like finding that true back to the basket kind of player. It's hard to find them. They want to roam around and shoot and come off screens, and Tiana is the kind of kid that really wants to play the point position and distribute and get people where they belong, so we're excited about her. And then we have 2 kids from out of state coming. Shea Kellogg is a power forward who's coming from Ames, Iowa, and she will try to fill the very big shoes vacated by Joanna McFarland. If you guys watched us this year, you know what kind of amazing senior year Joanna McFarland had. She was 6'3" on a good day. If you got her really excited, she might jump over 2 or 3 pieces of paper. She was that athletic. And I just want you to know that at a stretch of 6'3" with her curly hair and with all that athleticism, she led the Big 12 in rebounding this year. She was second in double doubles behind Brittany Griner, who happens to be 6'8", and led the league in rebounds this year, which is just a phenomenal accomplishment to me. So we're going to miss that tremendously, and we're hoping that Shea Kellogg, this kid from Iowa, can come in and do a lot of what Joe did, because Shea can really shoot the ball, an instinctive rebounder, a tough competitor, really excited about her, all-stater from Iowa. And then we signed a shooting guard from Nashville, Tennessee. She was Miss Basketball in the state of Tennessee. She is a long-range shooter, much like Whitney Hand, who we've all fallen in love with. Derek Wyatt is her name. Scorer, probably a better scorer than she gets credit for, because everybody wants to talk about her putting the 3-ball in the basket, which she can undoubtedly do. And then we got a transfer from Texas A&M who will be added to the mix. So you can tell we've got a whole different kind of group coming in. It'll be fun to mix them together. And I will say, our transfer's last name is Little, and if we have any OU fans in the room, and I figured out there's a lot of Cowboys in here, so I'm being really nice to you guys today. David Little played for Billy Tubbs back in the day, and Peyton Little is his niece. That is his brother Richard's daughter. So we're real excited to have her, and she'll have 3 full years of eligibility after sitting out 1 per transfer rule. So we will have an incredibly talented team next year, a team that I'm very excited about coaching, and one I'm looking forward to, and I think you will enjoy pulling for. They'll be really easy to root for. That brings me to the end of my infomercials and what I wanted to talk about today. Over the past few months, I've been asked repeatedly, how did you do it? How did you piece that team together? Where did you get the smoke and mirrors to get that team that was so depleted due to injuries to a winning season? How did you get them to the top of the Big 12 conference? How did you get them to the NCAA tournament? How did you get them to the Sweet 16? How did that happen? And I've answered repeatedly over and over and over the same thing. It's really simple. Extraordinary internal leadership, without a doubt. I spoke just a little bit earlier about our seniors and the 4 kids that we had. I want to tell you, we had 3 captains for our team this year, and our captains are selected by their team. They are not appointed by me. 2 of them were seniors, 1 was an underclassman. We had 4 seniors on this team. 2 of them were captains, 2 of them were not. Of the 4 seniors that were on this team, 2 of them played in every single game until their tongues hung out, and 2 of them never played at all because they were sidelined by season-ending knee injuries. But we had a core nucleus of people who were impeccable leaders because they did whatever needed to be done to get our team where we wanted them to go. There were 3 things that I think this group did in an extraordinary way. And I've said for years, and I believe in the very core of my bones, that you don't have extraordinary seasons unless you have extraordinary seniors. Seniors have to breathe the life into your program to get you to do really special things. And we were able to do that this year because of those kids. That core nucleus of leadership did 3 things extraordinarily well. And the first of those is they paid attention. They paid attention. I heard a story one time about a kid who rode his bicycle up to the Mexican border. He had a sack of sand on each shoulder. He pulled up to the border, and the Border Patrol said, "Hey, boy, what's in those bags?" And the kid said, "Sand." And they said, "Really? We'll see about that." So they took the bags of sand, took them back, and analyzed them, and it was just sand. Okay, kid, sacked him up again, put him on his shoulders, and off he went. And the next day, the same little kid comes through riding a bike with sacks on his shoulders. "Kid, what's in the sacks?" "Sand." "We'll see about that." They take it, they keep him overnight, they analyze the contents. It's just sand, put it back in the sack, send him on. This happens consistently for an entire year. The Border Patrol was getting a little bit older, came retirement age. He retired, hangs out at the local cantina. One day, in came this little boy named Juan, and he recognized him from his years of passing through the Border Patrol. And he said, "Hey, kid, come here. I want to buy you a drink. Come here. I got to ask you a question." Kid comes over and sits down beside him and says, "I want you to tell me. I know that you are smuggling something. I know that every single day that you came through the Border Patrol, you were smuggling something. And I'm retired, and it doesn't matter anymore, and it's driving me crazy. I just want to know. Just tell me. What were you smuggling across the border?" Juan took a drink of his drink, and licked his lips, and said, "Bicycles." You heard that before. See, if you're not paying attention, you just might miss it. For our guys, ignorance is not an excuse. You don't get to not know. If you are a captain, if you are a leader, if you're in a position of responsibility over your flock, you don't get to not know. She's having a bad day today. Well, I didn't know. Too bad. It's your responsibility to find out. And so we try to teach our guys how to observe. We want them to know their teammates' body language. We want them to know their facial expressions. We want them to invest in their lives so that they know when they're having a bad day, so that they know when they're struggling academically, so that they know when something's going on at home, so that they can get to issues before they become problems. We want them to pay attention. It's an important part of being able to lead the people that you're responsible for. In 2007, at a Washington, D.C. metro, there was a young man who got off the train, set his violin case down, opened it up, and took out his instrument. And he began to play. And he played 6 pieces written by Bach. He played them for 45 minutes. It's estimated that in that 45 minutes of time, approximately 2,000 people passed through the Washington metro on a January morning. Played for 45 minutes. After the first 3 minutes, a man stopped, leaned against a pole for a minute, looked at his watch, took a dollar bill out of his pocket, and threw it in the case and went on. After 4 minutes, a couple of gentlemen stopped by, watched for just a second, and hurried on their way. After 6 minutes, a woman walking along with 2 little toddlers pulled them as they tried to stay and listen to the musician, pulled them ahead hurriedly on their way. Over the course of 45 minutes, about 6 people paused to listen. Over the course of 45 minutes, 20 people chucked coins or dollar bills into the violin case. At the end of 45 minutes, there was a total of $32 in the violin case. The musician stopped playing, put his instrument away, and walked off to no recognition whatsoever. There was no applause, there were no announcements, life just went on. This was an experiment done by the Washington Post. The musician's name was Joshua Bell. He had just played for 45 minutes on a violin worth $3.5 million. The previous night, he had played in Boston in a sold-out arena where every ticket, every seat went for $100. And yet, over a period of 45 minutes, people could not recognize talent out of context. They were so busy getting to the next thing that they had to do that they couldn't even perceive beauty. And that's what the Washington Post experiment was about. And what came away from that was the sobering thought that if we cannot pause to watch one of the world's greatest musicians, to listen to him play some of the most intricate music ever written on one of the most expensive instruments ever created. What else are we missing? What we want to train our leaders and our captains to do is to not miss stuff. Not miss the big stuff, not miss the little stuff. Pay attention to everything so that you can help those that you are responsible for do what they are capable of doing. The second thing I thought our leaders this year did an extraordinary job of is paving the way. And this is that part of leadership where you walk the walk and you talk the talk. This is the part where the leaders do the really, really tough jobs, and then they also do the really menial jobs. This is the part where people speak when something needs to be said, and people are willing to listen when they need to hear. This is the part that's not always easy. And this is really hard, I think, for all of us, even those of us who've been in the professional world for decades. But for 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids, this part is really hard because as leaders, we are called to hold one another accountable. And that's hard. It's really hard for kids who know they're flawed. We're all flawed. We're all imperfect. And so for a group of young leaders to be able to wrap their arms around the concept that my job is not to be perfect. My job is to do what I have to do to the best of my ability and to have you do what you can do to the best of your ability. These guys did that. I had 2 seniors whose careers were over. And they came to practice every single day and invested totally and wholeheartedly in everything that we did, which is the equivalent of having surgery and having your body stitched up and daily having someone rip those stitches up and open the wound. They could have come every day and showed up in the gym and sort of been along the periphery and kind of played the role, and that wound would have healed. But because they knew their immersion was important, they came in every day and jumped in. And they were in the middle. They were invested mentally, emotionally, as physically as they could be. And that wound gaped throughout the entire year. They were willing to do that. And that was their example to those kids they were responsible for, how to be convicted and how to do whatever you can do to the best of your ability. At the close of the season, those guys taught our young guys not only what to do, but how to be. What a tremendous lesson. And the third thing that I think this group did in an extraordinary way is they passed the baton. You know what? I ran track in high school. I was part of the relay team. And we spent a lot of time standing by ourselves going like this. If you ever ran track, you know what I'm doing. You're working on the exchange. We would stand in solitary positions and work on timing ourselves and sticking our hand back. And then we would work, the 4 of us together, standing in a row on the track, reach, 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 passing the baton. And then we would jog around the track doing the same thing. And then we would start in our respective spots and head start in and get the exchange, because we figured out real quickly that regardless of how fast each one of us worked, it wasn't going to matter. We weren't going to win the race if the exchange was not impeccable. It had to be efficient, it had to be seamless, it had to be exquisite, or we would not win. I think leading is tough enough in and of itself, but if you can get a group of young people to buy into not only leading, but to passing the baton of leadership, then you got a whole new level. You got a whole different thing going on. In our team facility at the University of Oklahoma, we have on each door the one that enters, the one that they enter, and the one that they exit to go to the court. The words above the door say, "Leave your story better than you found it." And for every student athlete that we bring into our program from the day they arrive on campus, they see that every time they come in and every time they go out. And they see it every single day until they graduate from the University of Oklahoma. And for seniors, that mantra gets really real. And this group digested that and embraced that perhaps more than any that I have ever had. This group wanted not only to lead well, but they wanted to teach the people that would come after them to lead well also. You know, it's been said that the measure of a successful life is if you are willing to plant trees under whose shade you will not sit. I think the same could be said about leadership, because that's what real leaders do. You tease somebody up so that the guy behind you can knock it out of the park. And that's a selfless, very mature concept. for a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids to grasp. These guys got that. At the end of the year, we won 24 games. We finished tied for second in the Big 12 Conference. We went to our 14th consecutive NCAA tournament. We went to our 10th Sweet 16, and yet nobody gave us a trophy. Nobody did anything ceremonious at half court. And yet, as I look back on this season, it's one of the most rewarding seasons I have ever been a part of, because we had a journey. We had a journey that's like a lifetime. It was filled with all these obstacles and challenges and all these opportunities for growth, and I had the opportunity to watch young women just become over the course of a basketball season. It is said that Navajo weavers, every time they make a rug, they weave in one contrasting thread of a different color, right from the center all the way to the edge, and they call it the spirit line. And what it does symbolically is release energy and pave the way for the next creation to be made. And when I think about Whitney Hand and Lindsay Cloman, Joanna McFarland and Jasmine Hartman, I think about a spirit line where they did their jobs in such a way so that next year we could become. And I want you to know that's the impetus of why I started with next year's team. That's why I'm so excited about those young talents and those people who are returning to us, because of what those four incredible young women did in investing in the lives of those who come after them. I have a great gig. I get to do this thing that I love every day. I get to wear these when I want to, and I get to wear tennis shoes every single day. I fell in love with basketball as a fifth grader, and I have loved it every day of my life since. I get to do my passion. And I don't think that's unlike any of you or many of you who are in this room. And if you're not doing your passion, quit today and go find out what that is. Because I'm telling you, as I tell students on the campus of the University of Oklahoma, every time I speak to them, do not go